So in the last class, we have seen deploying an application using Docker Compose, which comprises of multiple containers, right? We can start them, stop them together. We can manage their volumes. We can maintain communication across those containers, right? We can set some dependency across. We can set the dependency across them. All of them we can manage with the Docker Compose, right? For this Docker Compose, we have written some Docker Compose.yaml. So yeah, it was working fine with the Docker Compose. The containers could communicate. The front-end container could save the data in the database container, which acts like a backend. So it was all doing good. Now, what if we want to deploy the application using Docker Compose through Jenkins Pipeline? So let's see doing it. Let's start our Jenkins Docker server. Let's connect to it and let's start working. Let's launch our Jenkins server. This is the same server where we have installed Jenkins as well as Docker, right? Let's start the services and let's create a pipeline to deploy through Docker Compose. Start the services, start Jenkins, and start Docker. See, you need not have both Jenkins and Docker on the same server. You could have on remote server. If Docker is on remote server, you will be running a job on a remote remote machine. Like I have shown you, running a job on remote machines. Through SH agent plugin you can do, or else through adding it as a slave you can do. Either ways you can do and run a job where Docker is available. In my case, I'm having both of them, but it doesn't make any difference except adding a agent parameter for before the block. Start Jenkins, start Docker. Okay, Vinayak says, I did hands-on, got a lot of errors, but able to fix it. That was great. And only one thing is I had to start Docker manual. You mean you have created the pipeline, Vinayak?
Yes, ma'am. No, not pipeline. The one that you did yesterday. But see, now you did the start Docker. So I didn't do it. I only started Jenkins. So I was getting errors while running through the bash from my editor. So I
Vinayak,
had to start Docker there.
hands-on with the Jenkins pipeline?
No, ma'am. Not with Jenkins. With just the files, the yesterday's class.
So that doesn't need Jenkins service, right?
Yeah. I mean, like what you did now, like after starting Jenkins, you started Docker. So I didn't do that in the.
You don't need to do
So
that. Okay, you need to start Jenkins service only if you want to create a pipeline this way. Okay, yesterday's scenario doesn't need Jenkins. You don't need, it's not mandatory. You should start Jenkins first, then Docker. Okay, only if you need this service. Today I'm going to create a pipeline, so I have started Jenkins service. Okay, otherwise you don't need it. Anyway, that's great. You have done the hands-on successfully. Okay. Yeah. We'll be creating a pipeline here. First, let's go to our pipeline which we have created. It's our DevOps job, right? And yes, we have the pipeline here. Yeah, see Jenkins file is there. And if you remember, we have also done it from UI. In the package job, I have added, yeah, here. So you could also write, if you want to run Docker Compose from the UI, what you will do, like you placed Docker file in GitHub and run Docker build, put Docker Compose file on GitHub and simply run Docker Compose up -d by passing the file name. Okay, that's all, as simple as that. Okay, Docker Compose up -d. But this is not how we do. Okay, we shall do it in much more better way by also parameterizing the image name. What is meant by that, we'll see. That's why I'm not doing from the UI. Okay, it doesn't help you. Just if you want, you can run any commands in the shell. Just for your understanding, I have done this, but always preferable from code, right? Pipeline as a code concept. So let's launch our server. Let's launch the VS Code editor and let's launch our repository to create a new pipeline. Vim editor SSH is the best. SSH is not a Vim editor, Vinayak. SSH is a client to connect to remote machines. PuTTY, you mean. Let's create a new folder. To connect to EC2 via VS Studio. Yeah, you mean remote editing. To do remote editing, yeah, VS Code editor is better. Yes, obviously. So you don't need to have work with the Vim editor. VS Code editor for remote editing will help you a lot. Okay, let's create some folder here first for our PHP code. What I'll do is PHP app. Okay, this is the folder. So here, let me just create one more folder to keep all the Docker files. How many Docker files we have for this PHP DB app? Yes. In this directory, I'm going to have a Docker file and index.php file. Of course, you need another Docker file for SQL, right? We have one more, right, Vinayak? For SQL image, we need to create one more Docker file, isn't it? See, please listen carefully and answer and be interactive. Check whether you are following or not. Okay, this is the code. Okay, and then go to Docker file. We have already learned this, so I'm not going to explain them. I'm just making sure I have all the files available. Okay, done. Then yes, this is available. And what next do we want? Okay, for now that's all. Okay, why not?
Compose and SQL scripts, no, right? This time.
Where is it?
Do we need, or just asking? Do we need compose file and SQL scripts?
SQL scripts is required to build SQL image, SQL Docker image, isn't it? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
So we don't need them here.
For PHP, okay.
Yeah, and yeah, we need another Docker file where you will put SQL Docker file. Means Docker file for creating SQL image. Okay, so fine. Now I'll write a pipeline which will build, but actually I don't need this. You may be asking, don't you build a SQL image in the pipeline? No, I don't build SQL image in the pipeline because SQL image is fixed. It should have database, that's all. Am I correct? I don't have anything else. Only this PHP code is the code which keep on changing during every commit. Means whenever there is a commit in this code, I should build a new Docker image. Isn't it? Similarly, take our address book application also. Whenever there is a code change, okay, it will be pull build new var file, means new code changes. That will be used to build a new Docker image. Always a new Docker image which will have the new features. Similarly, index.php is the one which is going to get modified always. So this code is modified means PHP image should be built each run. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Aravind Kumar. Understood?
Yeah, ma'am.
File we need to run. You may be asking, what if some database change is required? Maybe you want to create new table. In that case, I need to run, isn't it? If I need any modifications to the database, then only I should run it. But it will be less frequent. Database schema will be designed beforehand. It would not be altered single day, multiple times each day. Whereas this code, the front end code, may get a lot of modifications. So this is the one I want to build in the pipeline. Okay, so SQL image I have created it because it's only once, or else because it's only once in a while, I'll do it manually. I don't need a pipeline for it. I believe this point is clear for everyone. Yeah. Now, yeah, this is done. Now let's create a Docker compose file. Docker compose file also we have learned creating it. So let's place that code. Docker compose.yml. Okay, so we have learned this. So I'm just placing the code, placing the same file, Docker compose. Okay, this is our Docker compose file. See, I'm using images from my private repository because that's how we use, right? You don't put the images on your public repository and all. You should store it on public private repository, pull them. That's what I'm using. I have created SQL image, placed them in my private repository. Here also I should write that SQL PHP image name, but I didn't write it. What is this? I'll tell you later. Except this, understood the file, everyone? There is nothing new. We did this already. Can I go away? Can I go off from this file? This part I'll explain you a little later. So everything is done. I have my Jenkins file, I have my Docker file, I have my code. Okay. So yes, I need to write a pipeline to build it. So I'm going to place this outside this Docker file. Just come out of this Docker file. Come out of this directory, and here I'm going to create a Jenkins file. Okay, so here I need to add few stages. So let us do it. Pipeline block. Initially we should have pipeline block. Inside the pipeline block, let's say stages block. Inside the stages block, stage block. Okay, and also let me add one more stage. How many stages do we need? One stage, okay, which will build the Docker image and push to Docker Hub. Correct? Store it on Hub. So this may be happening on development server. Correct? Then run the Docker image. Correct? This may be happening on deployment server. Right? This may be run the Docker image. We know how to run Docker image. We already have done that. But now using Docker compose file, or else using Docker compose tool, right? First you have to design the pipeline. First you have to figure out your stages in your pipeline, what all you want to do in the pipeline. Okay, which stage you want to keep for each. First of all, you need to figure out this. Okay, so then agent block, because I'll be doing it on two different servers. So agent none. And then yes, I'm going to have build server or development server. Like I said, Docker image may be created by developers most of the times, because they write the Docker file, they'll pack it and create it. But not always. Even DevOps team have to do it. So environment variables to store two server IPs. Let's say one is build server. Okay. And the other one is deploy server, or else test server. You may have to deploy it on test server for testing purpose, right? So here you will have EC2user@IP. For now, I'm just placing EC2user@IP. Once I create the instances, I'll add the IPs. Done. Okay, for now, that's all. Here. So how do you build it? Docker file is present in the Docker files directory, right? So first what you need to do, agent any, then comes the steps block. Inside the steps block, you will have a script block wherein you actually put the script. So here I want to connect through SSH agent plugin. So if you want to connect to SSH agent plugin, let's say I'll create two instances here. That private key should be stored in the credential store. This is nothing new. We already have done this. We already have learned the new things. Now applying them in different ways. So go to credential store. See, here it is. Jenkins slave. Okay. Through SSH plugin you can connect. Here is your key. See, when you keep the cursor, it tells you which type of credential it is. It is SSH username with private key credentials. So yes, I'm having the same for every, I'm going to have the same for every EC2 instance. Okay, if you want a new one, you may create it or you want to modify it, but I just want to go with the same. Okay, the name goes with Jenkins slave. ID is Jenkins slave. So I want to write the code. How to do this? Now, no, nothing is new. Everything we have learned. But let me show you again. SSH agent plugin. And yeah, this is the one, right? Right? This is how your SSH agent block should be. The SSH Jenkins slave, your credentials name. Okay. Yeah. Now, so SSH agent block. 1 second. Okay. So a matching closing braces should be there for this. Okay. Then inside the SSH block, agent block, yes, what you want to do, build the Docker image means you have to run Docker build -t command. You have to do Docker login, because after building Docker build, Docker push, right? You have to do Docker build and Docker push. This part we have already seen. Nothing is new. I believe you all can recollect. Just open your Jenkins file for your address book. This code we have already written. But to make the things more simple, I'm doing it. Similarly, I need with credentials block to log into Docker Hub. With credentials block. Okay, to log into Docker Hub. Username and password separated. What username you want to put? I just want to put it as user name. Some variable of your choice which will bind to username and password of this one. So generate the script. Yes, this is the one. Okay, because to log in we need them. So perfect. So what now here? In the with credentials block, let me put it. This is nothing but like packing my application, packing the code along with the dependencies and create a Docker image. Packing the code and create Docker image. Okay, and then yeah. See, once you run, what happens? I just want to copy. This is your repository. That's all. Okay, your repository is having this. Here, your code may be huge. As of now, we have only single code. That's the difference. I have placed this also in the same file, same folder. Just let me put it outside this because that's a related to the code, and this is outside. It's good now. No. Cut. If it is not allowing there, you could also copy here. It is PHP app, Docker files, Jenkins file. Right? That should be the case. Now it looks good. Yeah, it's outside Docker files. Okay. All right. So pack this and write it. So you need to do Docker build. Before that, what you need to do, you need to copy this directory onto that machine, right? Onto the machine wherever you are going to clone, you are going to build it. So first of all, you need to copy this folder there. So scp -o strict host key checking should be set to no for the first time, right? And then copy the entire directory recursively, means you can use -r and the build server IP. Let me add this code. We have already done this. See here, copying this, and our environment variable is build server. See, to the build server, copy into home EC2 user directory, then strict host key checking on the same build server, right? There is some docker, because see, you need another script file to install Docker. On this new machine, you need to have Docker installed and Docker running. Am I correct? So how do you do that? You can place it in another script file. So where is your script file? So create one more script file in this directory. In this directory, Docker script.sh. What does this file have? Docker script.sh. This will have code to install and to start Docker. That's what we need on the build server, right? So let's write those lines, right? Install Docker, systemctl start Docker. Is this much clear, everyone? Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Right? So yeah, let's go to the stage. We have already done this one, nothing new. Build it, then log in, and then push the image. But what is this image? Instead of writing the name each and every time, we could have another variable. Okay, and here, like I said, I'm going to use my private image, like image in my private repository. Okay, this is going to be, what is this? We'll talk about later, our PHP image. Okay, perfect. Now come to this run block, like where you just run your application, right? Here also add agent any steps block, script block, SSH agent. Script block. Inside the script block, add the SSH agent block. The same private key I'm going to use. If you have different private key, create one more credential store and use it. Okay. Okay. Inside this, here also to run the image, you need to push it. You need to pull the image from hub, right? So we need this line as well. Right? Okay. So now what next? You can put some echo command if you are interested, saying that run the image, and then again, like you need to copy this repository, go to this repository, right? Go to this repository, but this time it's going to be deploy server. You need to copy that folder, right? Do we need to copy that to run? Yeah, see, compose file is there, right? We need this compose file. Yes, obviously we need it. So copy it. Then on this server also we need to run Docker script, isn't it? We need to install Docker. We need to run Docker. Also Docker compose should be installed, correct? So I may have to create another script, but this line is needed, which will install Docker, which will start Docker, also which will start Docker compose. So, but this is having only a script to install Docker. We should be writing in one more script file, which will install Docker compose as well. I'm going to create one more file in this directory. Docker compose script.sh. Okay. So here I'm going to write lines. This will install download Docker binary, provide executable permissions, copy it into your sub bin Docker compose. This line I'll explain later. So I'm writing everything here. Docker should be installed and then Docker compose should be installed. So let's go to our pipeline. Docker script, and also Docker script will install Docker. So another lines to install this Docker compose.
We can't put all, both in one script, ma'am.
We can, I'll tell you. Okay. Yeah, you can put here Docker. Okay, Docker compose script. So if you can put everything here, okay, those two lines also you can add, because that script is already available. First I'm running this script, then later I'm running this script. You can put everything there, but what happens here in the previous stage, I need only Docker. Why should I run Docker compose also? I don't need Docker compose here, right, to build and push. So I have placed them separately. Here I am calling them, but if you want in the compose itself, you can add these two lines. That is fine, or else call both the lines. Okay, clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is also done. Then to pull the image to run, you need to do Docker login. So that is also same. Why is this happening? Okay, so Docker login now. Docker run, particularly Docker compose script. This file we need to run. We could do it in another way. Let me just delete this line. Okay, I need to call Docker compose script, right? I will write this line here. Docker compose script. See, I need to call docker compose.yaml. Am I correct? That also I'm going to place in the same script, docker compose script.sh. I need to call docker compose -d, correct? So I'm going to write the line here, docker compose -f, docker compose.yaml, the path of the YAML file, -f, give the path of the YAML file, -d. Forget about this. Is the rest of the code clear for all of you? All the 4 lines clear except this part? Everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, this line will install Docker start Docker. This line will install Docker Compose. Okay, it will start Docker Compose. It will also run Docker Compose.yaml. Perfect, everything is done. 1 minute. Here there is a correction. Deploy server. It should be all happen on the deploy server. So deploy server. Deploy server. You have many good options here. Okay, you need not write like this. VS Code editor provides you replace options and all. Okay, you can go for them. Anyway, yeah, done. Let me explain you. So this is going to happen on build server. On build server, what are we going to do? You are going to build a Docker image, push the Docker image to Docker Hub. So for that, we are using some remote machine. So SSH agent plugin. We need to do Docker login on that machine. So Docker credentials. Okay, then copy the Docker file there. Docker file is available in this directory. So copying that directory and then building the Docker image. Okay, means run the script which will install Docker and start Docker. Okay, what next? Yeah, Docker build, Docker login, Docker push, done. Then deployment server. On deployment server again, yes, you need a SSH agent block, credentials, because to run Docker image also, if it is a private image, you need to have the credentials. So then, so we are again copying this Docker files directory because it has got Docker compose.yaml and some scripts. So yes, here also you need Docker and you need to install Docker and start Docker. So this is the script we are calling here. This one. Okay, then we did Docker login, then run compose. Before running compose, install Docker compose and run compose file. Running compose file, Docker compose command also placed here. Perfect. So when does this pipeline runs? This pipeline will trigger whenever there is a change in this index.php. Whenever there's a code change, this pipeline should start running. Correct? So yeah, for each run, a new Docker image. So I would like to append the Docker image with colon php build number, so that for every run a new Docker image. Correct? So the same Docker image I want to push to hub. That's why I'm using the same. Now I want to run the same Docker image. Okay, not anything else. I just want to run the same Docker image. So in Docker Compose, I don't want to hard code this image name. Hard code means I don't want to use a constant. Okay, so I don't want to hard code the image name, so I'm using a variable. But how do you pass a variable to Compose from shell script? If you remember our shell scripting, which we did in the first week or in the second week of our course, I have shown you can call a shell script. You can call a shell script by passing some parameters, right? Say I'm calling docker compose script.sh and then pass the variable, pass the parameter. Here the variable is image name. Okay, this is called positional parameters. Whenever you call the shell script, you can pass some variables this way. Bash, the script file name and the variable. Okay, variable, I mean the value you want to pass, it's a variable. So $image name, it's a passed as a first variable. First variable means position parameters were used, $1. So which variable you are setting with it? Docker image variable we are setting it. And that Docker image variable we are using in our compose. So what happens? We are not, every time if you run the same Docker compose file, there is no use. Correct? Every time you have to run the latest Docker image for PHP because it gets created in each run. That particular image, whichever you created, should be run always. Not any random one. Or else you keep fixed the image name, then no point of running the pipeline. Let's suppose I don't write it. Okay, I'll put some value fixed X. Okay, now, yeah, Jenkins file will create a new Docker image each time. Okay, but I don't pass variable and I run the same to compose. No use of the pipeline, isn't it? Got it, all of you? This is the new thing for you. New thing means in the shell scripting we have learned, but this is how you use that positional parameters in shell scripting. Whenever you call means to your shell scripting, if you want to pass some values, you can pass those values during runtime. Means whenever you are running the shell script, you can pass the value. Okay, this way, just you pass the value here. I have shown an example. You call the script with the username. Username, if it is admin, it will run, otherwise no, that kind of thing we did. So we are passing this to this Docker compose script. So where is this Docker compose script? Here it is. Here what are we doing? With the value you're passing, we are assigning to a variable called Docker image. Okay, this Docker image is going to be used in the compose.yaml file. Got it? Understood, everyone? So let us run this. Let's create a new job. Any questions? Understood the script? Lot of practice.
There is no Git here, right? Like, or
We have
we are not putting. Will we push this in the repository?
yeah. Otherwise, how do we run from Jenkins?
Oh,
We'll place all of this in a Git repository. Otherwise, how do you run this from our Jenkins file? I mean, how do you run the pipeline?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. See, do a lot of hands-on, okay? Lot of practice. In one go, you may not be able to write each line, okay? It may take some time, but just go through it, practice, do it multiple times. You'll enjoy learning it. First, let us create few instances. We need a build server and deploy server, right? So launch 2 instances. Yeah, it's going to have, see, new UI experience. Do you want to go for new, or I just want to? I need 2 instances. 2. Security rule by allowing all traffic. The same key both are using. That key we have already stored in the credential store. Okay, 2 instances will be ready. Meanwhile, let's go and create a new job here. And what is the job type? Which job type should I select?
Pipeline.
Pipeline type. Because we are going to run it through Jenkins file. Here, pipeline script from SCM, get repository. But where is your repository? Where is the code? So go to GitHub. Let's create a pipeline. Let's create a repository. PHP demo for test, whatever. Okay. Now this is where you need to place complete code. Okay. I got an address, I got a location. Come here. Initialize Git. How do I push this? Can you help me?
Git init.
Yeah, in this PHP folder, Git init. Then Git add all the code. Okay, then Git commit -m PHP code ready or whatever, some meaningful message. Just check the status. Git status, it's all perfect. So git remote add origin, because it's local repository, you have to add the origin. Done. Now git push origin master. I'm going to push to master branch. Perfect. Now I should see my code here. Yes, great, right? Now Copy this. The same URL repository, repository URL, you have to place it. Done. It's a public, so no credentials. Otherwise, you could also store credentials of GitHub in the credential store and use them. And that's all. Default is master. Anyway, my code is in master. Done. So let us run this. Any modifications we should actually we need to put the IP address, right? So just let me name it as build server. I'm just naming as build deploy. So they are completely new servers. They don't have Docker. They don't have Git. They don't have anything, right? So let's see how it works, what it does. Yeah, build server, the server IP, deploy server, and then the build server IP. Okay, now let's push again. Git commit, add and commit with a minus a. They are not new files anymore. So push. Okay, now let us run the pipeline. Any corrections needed, we shall make them. What is this? Okay, this is our new job. Okay, let's build it. Okay, somewhere it failed. Incorrect username and password, unauthorized. Okay, let's see which stage failed and all. Let's see. So initially what happened, using credentials for research agent, and has logged into the first machine. Okay, copied the code, build the image. This is all about building an image. SSH login failed. Okay, which credentials we have used? Let us check. Username and password. See, I have used SSH user credentials. right? I have used incorrect credentials. Which credentials should we use? Manage credentials. Yeah. This one I should use. Rather, I'm using this one, right? So obviously it will fail. So let me make a change. Pipeline syntax with credentials block with credentials. Bind which credentials? Username, password, separated type. Here, see user one. What is this one? This is the one, right? DevOps trainer. This should be used. So that's the mistake. So username and password. I'm using something else to log into Docker. Okay, here it should be Docker Hub. Everything else would be the same. Credential ID is incorrect. So let me make this change. See, as such user credentials I'm using. Okay, that's all right. Anything else we need to modify? Password variable. It is all good. Yeah. Okay. Now let us push the code once again. Okay, push is successful. Now let's run the pipeline. Already image was image was created. Okay, it's available on the first machine. It should push successfully. See, Docker push. PHP2. Do you see the tag name? PHP2 because it's a build number 2. You could also log into the server and check if you want. It should push to our hub. Let's go to our hub. hub.docker.com, or private repository. This is my private repository. Java Maven private repos. Yeah, here see PHP2, it has already pushed few seconds ago, right? So login succeeded this time. I think this was happening on the second server. Yeah. Okay, it is installing Docker Compose. Do you see that? Docker Compose script. And passing this image name. Image name was not passed properly. PHP build number is still there. It should pass the image name properly, I believe. Let it finish. We'll figure it out. Okay, finish successfully. Here actually we should see, instead of build number, I should see build number 2. But let's see what it has built, what it has done, we'll see. PHP2, the image should be PHP2, not simply PHP, right? It was using this. I just want to use PHP2. Correct? We'll figure it out. $image. Okay. Let's see. Let's log into the server. When it pushed PHP2, it should also pull that image and run that PHP2 image, not PHP image. Are you getting me? First, let's go to the build server and check everything is done properly or not. New session. EC2 user. EC2 user. Sudo docker images. Actually, it should have created, yeah, it has copied this folder. Do you see that? Okay, you have all the scripts here. Anyway, it has pulled first time also successfully. I mean, it has built for the first time also successfully. PHP1, PHP2, but PHP2 is pushed because for the first time login failed. So this should be pushed, but no containers should be available here, right? It will not create any containers. Perfect. Build server on build server first stage is perfect. Let's go to the second stage. Second stage is happening on a separate deployment server. Then sudo docker images. See, it was pulling PHP. Which image it should pull? Which image it should pull?
And PHP2, right?
PHP2. It should pull PHP2, not PHP. So we need to figure out here which line you can check the console output. So actually, where is the second stage started? Let's go to the second stage. I think this is the one. Yeah, first stage it has pushed. Okay, PHP2 it has pushed. Means that PHP2 you should be running. Just scroll down. So this is the second stage. On the second stage, yes, it has done the key. It has verified the key. It has done SSH into it. A Docker script. It has executed the script. Then here this line bash docker files docker compose script.sh DevOps trainer PHP2 should be there. It doesn't interpolate this correctly. Means it should convert this string properly. Dollar, it was showing dollar image name. Image name is having build number again because it's having one more variable here, isn't it? Dollar build number, dollar image name. It was not taking this variable properly. It could not interpret this properly. Let's check the compose script. Docker image. Docker image equal to $1. Whenever it is passing here, we'll check here. Okay, let's go here. And here you can make the corrections and check how it works. Maybe let me check this way with single quotes. It worked fine, but it was not considering build number appended when we are passing through script. Failure, incorrect. Okay. Replay. SSH dollar image name. What if we don't put this? Yeah, it took properly. Do you see this? Yeah, but there is a problem. It took properly here. Do you see that PHP 4? But what happened? Bash var lib Jenkins docker compose. It was going to the home directory of Jenkins. Is this correct? Should it go to var lib Jenkins? It's not calling the shell script. Variable is interpolated properly. This variable is fine, but it could not run the script. It was searching when I say, okay, on this machine it should happen, right? We'll do one thing. This is how you can modify a script and correct here itself. But it is going to be, it happens on the same server if you don't put the quotes here. Deploy server. And let me do this way. Home and C2 user. Okay, just I'm placing the path so that it may consider, it may check it out. Strict host key checking. Why do we need this each time? We don't need this, no? Only first time we need it. Here also we don't need it. Oh, sorry, that's SCP, this is SSH. Okay. So, oh, I already started the build. Yes, this is the image name is passed correctly. Yeah. Bash. Yes, it was working fine. Do you see that? Right? Now which image it was running? PHP fine. Do you see that? Let's see. On the build server. Earlier it was always running only PHP. If that is the case, no use of the pipeline. So set a user sudo docker images PHP 5 and also container should be created from PHP 5. Yes. Right? And yeah, you can hit that on 8001, the deployment server. Go to this deployment server. 8001 deployment server, put some data. Perfect. You can go into the container and check if your data is saved out. Got it, all of you? Understood, everyone? Any questions?
Yes, ma'am, the change we have to push in Git again, right? In the script.
Yeah, I have made the changes in the AWS, Jenkins console itself. Yes, you can move it back. I'll do that. 1 second. Okay. So coming back. So here we need to make the modification, right? You can just copy, place it here. Go to our Jenkins page. Build number 5. Console output. Sorry. Replay. Here is the line. This is the one we made the change. Okay. Just don't put single quotes to this bash command because it could not interpret the variable. Alright, that's all. Now you could run straight away without replay. Two stages done. That's our pipeline. Of course, if you want, you can include some test execution. If you have some test cases, like we have run some unit testing. Test cases should be provided by testers. You put them, you can execute them here. That's your pipeline. Got it clear, all of you? Any questions? This is second pipeline on a PHP DB application. Do hands-on, okay, you need to do hands-on multiple times to understand this thoroughly. Go through the recording, okay, do the hands-on, learn it or practice it multiple times. That helps you a lot. And
Ma'am, if we don't like copy the files, what will happen? Like
where
if we don't do the in the pipeline, because in like we do SCP, we copy the Docker files from our like the server that we are running to the build and the deploy server, right?
you don't
Like,
copy,
yeah, I mean, do we like why do we have to copy the Docker files everywhere?
you need this file to build, right? How do you build a Docker image? You need to build this image.
Oh,
You need to build a Docker image from the Docker file. Means Docker file should be present on the server, right?
but on build and deploy all the servers.
Because see here I have compose file here. This is required on deployment server. This is required
Correct,
on
yeah.
deployment server. This is also
Deployment, yeah.
required on deployment server. Or else you
Right.
put them in separate directories, copy only those.
Oh, okay, okay. That is, yeah, okay. Yeah, makes sense.
You can put two separate directories, whichever you want on build server.
Okay, build in, yeah, okay. Okay, man. Got it.
So this is our EC2 instance. On this, okay, this is our EC2 instance. On this EC2 instance, I have got my PHP container, DB container. This is what we did. Okay, but I want to run more PHP containers or else more DB containers. This Docker host may not be sufficient. So what should I do? Another Docker host. Pink ones are the Docker host EC2 instance. So more DB. PHP, blue ones are DB, let's say. Maybe I want to scale PHP also. So they would be spread across multiple Docker hosts, right? Docker host. Or else, just to visualize better, Pink ones are Docker hosts. These are PHP containers. Other one is DB, blue ones. So I want to scale PHP containers and DB containers. I want to scale to 100, 200. All of them cannot be accommodated on a single Docker host, right? Docker host 1, Docker host 2. I may have to scale the Docker host as well. Okay, fine. I am running 1000 PHP containers, 1000 DB containers spread across 10 Docker hosts. But how do you manage such a huge number of containers? Manage has got a wider meaning. What is meant by managing? How do you manage huge number of containers? Managing has got a lot of meaning, which is called orchestration. How do you orchestrate the huge number of containers? Orchestrate means how do you provide high availability of your application? How do you load balance these containers? Okay. And also how do you scale them? You cannot sit and run 100 times Docker run to start 100 containers, right? So how do you scale them? Or how do you implement rolling updates, rollbacks? What are rolling updates, rollbacks? Okay, we'll talk about all of them. Rolling updates, rollbacks, auto scaling. Okay, all these comes and many more. Okay, disaster recovery, backup, all this comes under container orchestration. Who does this container orchestration? Can we do that? Shall I write some script to do it? Right, it's not possible. So container orchestrator tools are there. The main leader of the container orchestrator is Kubernetes, means more widely used tool, Kubernetes. Then of course many other container orchestrator tools are there, like Docker Swarm, Mesos, Apache's product. This is from Mesos, Apache, Mesos, and so on. But out of all of them, Kubernetes is very famous. Okay, they are far away from Kubernetes. There's no comparison or match with Kubernetes. Kubernetes is very widely used, very famous, very advanced tool, great demanded tool in the market. You know, you learn Kubernetes alone, you'll get a job. Okay, you'll get a very good job, very good role as well. That is the importance of Kubernetes. Okay, so we'll be learning in this course two container orchestrator tools, Swarm and Kubernetes. But Swarm will just learn basics because it's not used in production. It's confined for very small projects. It has got its own limitations. Okay, so we'll first learn the orchestration basics through Swarm and we'll step into Kubernetes. Okay, and this is my favorite tool out of all. Yeah, you will enjoy learning Kubernetes. You will see like how the applications works in reality. So tomorrow we shall take up Docker Swarm. It's just, I'll show you the basics. Like I said, we don't need it. We don't use it in real time. So I'll show you whatever we need in Docker Swarm and then we'll step into Kubernetes for all other advanced concepts like scaling, rolling updates, rollbacks, auto scaling, all of them. In Swarm, we'll see the basic features like high availability, load balancing, manual scaling, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And also Kubernetes, you should learn it carefully. Okay, any other tool, if you talk about any other tool, if you just Google it or if you just search somewhere in the project, if you want to troubleshoot something, if you Google it out, if you search it, it may work. But Kubernetes, you need to understand the concepts thoroughly to figure it out, to fix it. So learn this properly, that will help you a lot. We shall start this tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow Docker Swarm and then Kubernetes introduction or whatever we can do with the Kubernetes tomorrow. Right? Any questions? Any more questions? Anything else from your end? See, I'm not seeing active participation, active activities in the group. Okay, the idea of having our WhatsApp group is do the hands-on, post your queries there. I'm sure if you're doing hands-on, you will definitely have queries. So no queries means I should assume no hands-on. No hands-on, no activities after the class. If you do hands-on, if you start hands-on, definitely you'll get more queries. So please do start your hands-on. Okay, this is the right time. You don't get this time again. Okay, when you are learning, you should do hands-on. After complete learning, if you start hands-on, it will not help you. It will be very difficult. It will not help you in this. It will be very difficult because you need to get everything, things goes piled up. You need to recollect. Learning becomes slow. It takes more time. If you learn along with the course, okay, it may take, let's say it may take 2 months. If after the course you start learning, it will take 6 months. So requesting everyone, I want the training to be fruitful. You should apply them in your projects. Whoever didn't start or not working, start hands-on at least from now. Okay, at least go through the recordings. Any questions, post them. Keep learning. Stay motivated. All right, then bye everyone. Yes, Vinayak, definitely the course, the content will be interesting. Many more interesting topics are coming up, which we see or which we have an exposure to the real world, right? Like particularly rolling updates, rollbacks, different deployment strategies, auto scaling features, and Terraform. That's again a great tool. So just, yeah, keep focused, stay motivated, go through the recordings, do the hands-on. All right, then bye everyone. Have a great day. See you all tomorrow.